everybody, and welcome to the Helen Winder Show. I'm Helen Winder, and my guest today is Steve Bustin, business communications expert. Hello, Steve.
Hi there, Helen. How are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you.
Good. Well, tell my listeners a little bit about yourself. Where do you come from and what it is that you do?
Where do I come from? Well, I'm based in Brighton, down the south coast, and I help businesses communicate better, I think would be the best way to describe it. I work with organisations that want to communicate better both externally and internally. So people who need to connect to their customers, to potential customers, to prospects, but also who need to communicate better with their staff, with their teams, get their teams talking to each other. So communications is my bag. I help people in terms of verbal communications, written communications, online communications, presentations, all that sort of stuff. So if you've got to communicate, you've got to use words to communicate, I can help you do it better.
Communication is really key, isn't it? Whether we're a solopreneur or whether we're a larger company, because it's just vital, isn't it? And not everybody gets it.
No, absolutely. And I think you're absolutely right. It's irrespective of the size of the company, and there are some huge companies that really struggle with their communications, and yet there are also sole traders who really struggle to describe what it is they do and what it is they can do for clients. So, I think a lot of people think, oh, I can talk, I can chat, but actually, are you communicating effectively is the question I always have to pose. Are you connecting with people, are you engaging, or are you just broadcasting? I think it's a trap a lot of people fall into, that all they do is just say, this is me, this is me, this is me, when actually they never stop and say, and who are you, and what can I do for you?
Yeah, absolutely. We're sort of straight in there, aren't we? And oh yeah, well, yes, I can chat. I can stand and say who I am and so on. But it is an awful lot more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. My adage that underpins all the work I do is engage, don't broadcast. And whether that's posting on Twitter or standing on stage or doing PR, you've got to engage with people, and you've got to make it a two-way process. Any communication should be a two-way process. If it's not, there's a problem.
Yeah, it's exactly the same with a telephone call, isn't it? You pick up the line, you have this line between you, but if you don't both communicate or engage communication, then it's going to be quite quiet, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the things where you've got to think about it as a conversation, even if it's you talking to 200,000 people on your email list or talking to people via the media if you've been doing some PR. It's still got to be a conversation between you as an individual and the recipient as an individual.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you there. So how did this come about? How did you get into what you're doing today?
How did I get into it? Crikey, I've always been a communicator. I've always liked communicating, connecting. I was a show-off, I suppose. As a kid, I was always very happy on a stage. I was always very happy presenting or speaking in public. I wanted to get to know people. I think it partly comes about because I moved around several times as a kid. So I was thrown into new schools and things quite regularly. So I had to communicate and connect with people to make friends each time. So I think it comes from quite an early point in my life. But then I knew very early on I wanted to work in the media, I wanted to work in that sort of communication environment. And I started my career at BBC News and worked as a researcher and producer and journalist for BBC News. Worked on Radio 4, Radio 5 Live, News 24 when that first launched, and worked on the planning and news gathering teams. So that's really where I did my training and learned a lot about how we communicate, particularly in terms of communicating to a very large audience, but a very diverse audience, and how you really do have to try and connect with everybody at one go, which is not easy. Yeah,
it isn't easy because we all understand phrases, words, even our speech, the volumes that we reach, the pitches that we use. Everybody interprets it very differently, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, the way we do communicate, as you say, pitch and tone are so important, but that can vary depending on the time of day, how tired we are, how we're feeling, the sort of mood we're in, the sort of day we're having. And I think we forget that we have to control them, that we do have control over that sort of stuff. And sometimes you do maybe have to communicate in a way that doesn't feel absolutely right for that moment, i.e. you might be having an appalling day, but you've still got to communicate in positive terms. And I think it's something that a lot of people lose sight of and do damage themselves
Yes.
by not really realizing what frame of mind they might be in, let alone what frame of mind the recipient of the communication might be in.
Yeah, very true, isn't it? Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? How our backgrounds, they sort of evolve and become what we're doing today. And if you look at your background and how you're now working, it's really interesting. I find it fascinating, listening to people's journeys.
Well, I left. I mean, yeah, I left BBC in 2000. I was headhunted to go and become PR director for a .com, and at the time I was sort of getting a bit frustrated to leave. I had been doing it for a while, and the job I ended up in was running the news desk, which was great fun and very exciting, but was also very repetitive. I was working on the TV news desk, and the trouble is, although the news changes, TV news itself, you do the same thing 3 times a day, 1 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 10 o'clock. And also I ended up in a job that didn't have much journalism attached to it. It was really logistics busting.
Yeah.
When an offer came in to jump ship, go into a .com, I took it. And admittedly, they offered me a lot more money, which was appealing at the time. But actually, it was interesting. This was in 2000, which was just at the end of the .com bubble. And with hindsight, it was a lesbian and gay lifestyle site called Queer Company. And we then went on to launch a magazine called Fable. And with hindsight, the website business model was already behind the times. It was dated. There was basically the sort of portal model. So the idea was that people would come to this site and they might click through and buy their holiday, or click through and take a credit card, or click through and buy their house insurance. And by that point, actually, that wasn't happening. People were going straight to the providers concerned. So, and then when we launched the magazine, that was ahead of its time. It was aimed at lesbians and gay men. It was aimed at quite a sort of mature audience. And now, I think it would work very well. At the time, the market wasn't ready for it. Advertisers weren't ready for it. So as a company, we burnt our way through £3.5 million worth of venture capital funding in 18 months. I'm glad it wasn't my money. It was great fun, I have to say. We had a fabulous warehouse, offices in Shoreditch. We went for days at health spas and all sorts of things. I mean, we did do the .com lifestyle. It was fab. But 18 months later, we went bust.
Yeah.
It was a huge learning experience. I'm glad I did it. I learned a lot, particularly having gone from a strangely non-commercial space like the BBC, huge organisation but not driven by profit, turning into a small startup that was absolutely about cash flow and profit. And then watching it go out of business, I probably learned more in the 6 weeks as it went out of business than I did in the whole rest of the time, just in terms of what a business is about.
Yeah.
And it was when that went down then that I went self-employed. I went freelance initially just to tide myself over, and then suddenly thought, you know what, I'm enjoying working for myself. I enjoy the self-control. I enjoy the self-determination. And that's when I set up Nada Media as a brand, and I went from there. So yeah, I've been running the business now for, crikey, 13 years. And it's, like any small business, it had its ups and downs. I've had good years, I've had bad years. There are times when you just think, what on earth am I doing? There are times when you think, sod it, I'm going to throw it all in and go and work at Starbucks or something. But at the same time, I love the control. I love the variety.
Yeah.
And I like the challenge. There are times, there are times when you just think, well, what am I doing? I haven't got enough work. But you just actually, you know that other times you're going to have way more work than you can cope with, and you just have to learn to ride it out. And as after doing it so long, you start to understand how that works. And somebody said to me recently, it's actually not necessarily about the work you do in any given month, it's about the work you book in any given month. And I think that is so true.
It's very true, isn't it? Yeah, and also, when we have those quieter moments where you sit and you think, oh, goodness me, what am I doing? I'll go and get a job, and, like you say, in Starbucks or somewhere like that. That's the perfect time to actually stop and just look at what you're doing and how you're doing it, make those adjustments and just reassess things, because it can be a very fast road that we travel, can't it, otherwise?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've got to be prepared to take some risks, and you've got to be prepared to take the rough with the smooth, but actually running your own business it can be a really joyful experience, because you just have complete control, and you have, the idea now of going back and having somebody else tell me what time I can arrive in the office, and what time I can leave, and how long I can have for lunch is just a complete anathema. suspect I'm probably unemployable these days. I'm so used now to being my own boss.
That's the thing, isn't it? We get so used to our little ways and sort of yeah, our work style and lifestyle. Once you've reached that moment where you've got that balance, it's very hard to sort of go into a regimental routine.
Absolutely, yes. The idea of working 9 to 5, Monday to Friday now, I don't know. Well, yeah, there are times I think, oh, it'd be lovely to be able to walk out the door at 5 o'clock and forget about my business. You can't do that, but I'd say the option to think, actually, you know what, I've done what I need to do today, I'm taking the rest of the day off, that's lovely.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you engage with people? Because, you know, communication is vital to everybody's working day as well as living day, you know, personal, outside of work. How do you get engaged with people? How do you work with them in groups, individually? Tell us a little bit about that.
It varies. So I do a lot of work with bigger businesses. And then I also work with startups and I work with individuals. I do a lot of work with charities. But I'm quite often asked to come in and work with small teams. So it might be the marketing team or, like I'm working at the moment with the alumni team at the University of Brighton. Mm-hmm. And to have them and help them to look at their communications and to actually examine what they're doing and why they're doing it and whether they fall into a rut. And I think so many of people just fall into a rut. There's all, this is the way we've always done it. Actually, I start asking people, okay, what do you want your communications to achieve? And it's a question very few people have actually considered. You know, why are you on social media? What do you actually want it to do for your organisation? Do you want it to drive sales, or do you just want it to drive people to your website, or do you just want it as a way of people to be able to ask questions and get more information? Are you just using it to set the tone of the business? And a lot of people have never really examined why they do it. I think social media is particularly true on that, but even things like marketing, other marketing activities, PR, presentations. A lot of people say, oh yes, I go out and make a presentation. Okay, so what do you want those to achieve? And you get this silence, and they're like, well, I don't know. I want people to know who I am. It's like, that's fine. Raising awareness is a perfectly valid goal, but what do you want people to do as a result of it? Yeah. And that, I think, is the crux of it. What do you want people to do as a result of what you are communicating to them and how you're communicating? And if you don't understand that, I think people can waste a huge amount of time and a huge amount of money doing stuff that isn't actually delivering results. So I work with teams. So I tend to have, I deliver in a number of ways. I do a lot of speaking at conferences and business events and that sort of thing. So I can go in and talk about effective communications and engaging, not broadcasting, as a speaker. Mm-hmm. I also run a lot of masterclasses and workshops. So I'm invited to actually work with businesses, work with their directors, whoever, to actually help them form strategies around communications. Mm-hmm. I also do lots of mentoring. So I work one-on-one with business leaders who actually want to get better, and particularly around presentations. A lot of business leaders, they have to do them. They sometimes do them regularly, but they know they're actually not as good as they want to be. So I actually go and do one-to-one mentoring or coaching with them. So, and I also sometimes work with businesses to actually help them develop a strategy. What I don't do is actually then deliver it for them. What I do is I train people to deliver their own strategy, be it a social media strategy or a PR strategy. I'll work with them to actually develop it. I'll give them the tools to help them run it, and then I can just check in with them every now and again, offer some coaching when they want to do it. So I deliver in a number of ways, and actually the services I tend to end up working, I do a lot of work around presentations, public speaking, pitching, those sorts of things, so actually how people perform in front of an audience. I do a lot of work around PR, because I spent 12 years with Bard Media running it as a PR business. So helping people to engage with the media, promote themselves as an expert, promote their business through editorial coverage. I do quite a lot of media training, so I train people how to give media interviews, because my background is a journalist. Mm-hmm. So I train people how to appear on camera, how to avoid answering difficult questions, what to expect from journalists, all that sort of thing. Yeah. And then again, I work around a lot around social media, so how to use social media and actually get a result from it. Yeah. That's what so few people really know how to do it. They don't know how to measure it, so thus they have no idea whether it's paying dividends or not. So I say it's a number. I have a number of different communication topics which I deliver in a number of ways, which is great because for me it gives variety. And actually, what always surprises me is how much they cross-fertilise. You know, social media is very much part of your PR. Social media also ties into presentation and public speaking. That's the stuff. There's a lot of crossover. But as I say, the adage that underpins all of it for me is engage, don't broadcast. So you've got to start making it a two-way process and actually get people to buy into what it is you want to tell them.
That's the thing. The buy-in is really important, whether it's internal or whether it's external to the end purchaser. It's absolutely vital to get that message across, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think the big problem for most people is all they do is they'll just put something out there about themselves. Look at my blog. Here's my blog. Read my blog. Here's our latest blog post. Whereas actually, if people aren't sure how to engage, there's a really simple way to do it, and that is to ask a question. Because a question invites a response. It invites somebody to reply, to come back with what they think, what they're thinking about. So for instance, if people are posting on social media saying, look at my blog, look at my blog, look at my blog, and they're broadcasting, you turn around and say, here's my blog post about this topic. What do you think? Or, here's my opinion on this. Do you agree? Or, have you seen my blog on this? What do you make of it? You know, or so straight away you ask a question, you invite people to respond. And it's funny, people like being asked to respond, particularly on social media. I think, yeah, social media, it's a bit of a cliche, but it is all about the social, not the media. Have a conversation. If somebody else asks a question, answer it. Start a conversation. You never know where that might take you. People seem sometimes, they just got, what really makes my heart sing is when people say, oh yes, I go online on a Monday morning and I schedule all my tweets or all my social media posts for the week. And I just think you are so missing the point.
Yeah. Well, it's like if you walk up to somebody in the street that you know, you're not just going to stand there and look at them. You're going to ask, "How are you today?"
Absolutely, yes, yes, and hopefully you're going to listen to what they say and respond accordingly. It is one of those things where you just sort of you need to treat every interaction, every piece of communication like a conversation. Even if you're sending out an email newsletter to 20,000 people, think of it as the opening line of a conversation. So ask people what they think. Try to understand where and when they're likely to open it. What sort of things are they looking for? What's going to be useful to them? I think another adage that underpins a lot of my work is this idea of what's in it for me.
Yeah.
Really, whenever we engage as business people, really we're there as individuals. And at any given time, we're always thinking, probably unconsciously, what's in it for me? Why am I listening to this? Why am I spending my time reading this? Why am I watching this? Why am I on Twitter? What's in it for me? What am I going to get out of it? And if you as a business can anticipate what your audience wants to get out of it, you are going to be so much further ahead.
Yeah.
So it might be that actually at given times of the day, what your clients, potential clients actually want is a bit of light relief, a bit of entertainment. Particularly on a Friday, for instance, it might be that you want to post a Friday funny. At other times, on a Monday, might be looking for inspiration. They might be looking for some tools.
Yes.
If you found a tool that you found useful, chances are other people will too. Or if you found a news piece interesting or useful, or you found a resource that you found useful, chances are other people will too. And if you post it, that will get people thinking, oh, okay, they share similar needs, aspirations, wants, etc. to me. So I think that's what engagement's all about. It's about anticipating and trying to fulfill what your recipient, for want of a less clinical term, actually wants. I think too often we just put out what we want to say without actually thinking about, is this what our customers or our audience actually want to hear?
Yeah.
What are they going to do with the information?
Otherwise, you might as well just be a piece of sticky note that somebody's written on and sort of quickly looked at and put straight into the bin. It becomes almost like that, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think social media is the one where a lot of people really struggle, and I do still hear people saying, "Oh, I don't like Twitter and I don't like Facebook." All it is people saying what they had for breakfast. I think, well, I don't think that's true anymore. Anyway, yes, it was when it first started. There was a lot that went on. And if anything, I think that now happens on Instagram with people putting sticky photos up of their meals. I actually met somebody about 6 or 8 months ago, and she's a nutritionist. And she goes onto Twitter every morning and she searches for people who have posted about what they've had for breakfast, and she critiques their breakfast and tweets back to them what they've had, what was good about it, what was bad about it. So was it too high in protein, was it too high in fat, or whatever. And then she puts a link to a blog on her website about how they could have had a healthier breakfast. And she's got work out of that.
Wow.
That's genius. That is utter genius. Because you're taking something that people aren't, they're putting it out there, they're sharing what they've had for breakfast, and you are turning it into a business opportunity. That is the ultimate engagement. And so she gets business out of that. And I just sort of thought, yeah, I salute you. I think that is such a good way, particularly of taking hold of one of the cliches of social media and making it work for you. Why not? I think more of us need to be looking at what the information that's being put out there by other people, even if they are just broadcasting, and thinking about how we can engage with it instead.
Yeah, do you know what? That is an absolute genius idea. Gosh, because I mean, at the beginning, we didn't know what to do with it. This platform was launched, and it was like, wow, yeah, fantastic. And then you sit and you look at it, and you think, okay, I'll take a quick picture of my cheese sandwich.
Yeah, too many people say, oh, I waste a lot of time on social media. I know I have to be on it, but I don't know why.
Yeah.
And you think, okay, let's examine that. What do you want to achieve? Who are you trying to reach? And there are so many tools out there now, particularly for Twitter, but also for Facebook and some of the other platforms, that will tell you who your users are, when they're online, what sort of topics are they talking about. And if that information is all there, most of it's free, you can use that to really engage with them properly.
Yeah.
And that's where things like scheduling tweets can work. If you know that your users are online, predominantly at between, say, 11 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon, and they are really, that a lot of them are chatting about business in Sussex, for instance, or business in certain sectors, in the retail sector, then you know that actually you could schedule some posts to go out between 11 and 1 on those sorts of topics, but asking questions, linking to things, giving examples, linking to useful resources, rather than just saying, I can help you with your retail business.
Yeah.
Which is a broad cut.
Yeah.
You can say, what are the problems facing the retail sector today? That leads to engagement, because people can answer that, and then you can engage in conversation.
Yeah, because you're pulling on a different part of their thinking, their emotions, and connections, aren't you? When you ask a question, and especially if it's on a particular subject that's maybe a wee bit hot at that moment in time.
Yeah, and it's where things like hashtags can really use. But that's one of the problems with scheduling tweets, is you don't know what's going to be hot at a given time.
No.
So actually you end up looking behind the times, and there are some classic examples of businesses who have really come a crop up with scheduling tweets when the news agenda has then moved and their tweets suddenly look horribly inappropriate. I'm really reluctant to encourage people to schedule tweets or any sort of Facebook postings or whatever. I think people are much better off doing it live, and I would rather see 3 live relevant tweets a week than a dozen scheduled tweets that actually miss the mark. Yeah.
Yeah, I fully agree with you there. It has to be live because we're live as people.
Yeah, absolutely. You are sort of treating, if you're going to act like a robot and your tweets are going to be robotic, you are treating your audience like robots.
Yeah.
And the best of the world, robots don't engage, he says, trying to sort of work his way out of a slightly mixed metaphor.
But it's true, isn't it? I mean, at the end of the day, why are they on Twitter? Why are they there at that moment in time tweeting if they're not wanting to connect with people? They're not wanting to find out information. They wouldn't be there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for a lot of people, social media is, dare I say, a distraction, but it's also, I think those of us who work on our own a lot will use social media as a way of finding interaction and finding a bit of company, quite honestly. I think you can really make use of that and engage with people. But always bear in mind that when you're talking to somebody on Twitter, you are talking to an individual. You're not talking to a business. You're not talking to a client. You're talking to a person. You're talking to a human being. And you've got to behave accordingly, and so many people don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I fully agree with you there, because some of the messages it sends out, you think, okay, move on. And you don't want that, otherwise, you probably actually have something really important, really key to provide, But unless you communicate that clearly and in the right way, then you're not going to be heard, you're not going to be seen, you'll just be ignored.
Yeah, very much so. And I think what's even worse is when you see that sort of behaviour from a stage. You know, if you see somebody speaking at an event and all they're doing is broadcasting what they want to say and aren't engaging, they haven't stopped to think, what do my audience want to get out of this?
Yeah.
What would they find useful? What would they find interesting? And I just see too many speakers, particularly at things like Chamber of Commerce events and things, who have just got their prepared blurb, which sounds like an overextended advert, and you get to the end and you think, well, okay, that's fine, but I didn't get anything out of that.
Yeah.
And people lose interest. And I just think, you know, what a wasted opportunity.
Absolutely, yeah, I fully agree with you then. And half of them will just sit there at the back doodling. Did you know it's National Doodle Day?
Oh, really? Oh, I should have had a pen and paper handy so I could doodle every talk.
But so how can people, connect with you? Because I know you do offer, what you provide is absolutely key. Communication is vital. We need to know and understand how to communicate internally and externally with our end clients. How do we get a hold of you?
Well, I'm in all the usual places, as they say. You can find me on Twitter as @SteveInBrighton. Guess where I'm based? It's the clues in the name. So I'm @SteveInBrighton on Twitter. You can also look me up on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn and all those sorts of places. I'm on Pinterest. I like Pinterest. I'm a big fan of Pinterest. I have a board on Pinterest of social media resources, which is lots of infographics and hints on using social media to engage. So you can find me there. Search for Steve Bustin, and you'll find that board in there. And then you can find me online. I have stevebustin.com, and my training brand is Vada Media, which is VADA. So that's vadamedia.co.uk. So you can find me there too. Or if you're in Brighton, come and meet me for a coffee. Let's engage one-to-one.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, nothing better than face-to-face over a coffee.
Yeah,
or two.
Well, exactly. And I would much rather meet with somebody and spend half an hour getting to know them and things than have an endless email or social media conversation. And it's one of the reasons I spend a lot of my time sat in coffee shops chatting to people. And there's sometimes you come out and you think, okay, I don't quite know where that's going or whether that was useful, but it's amazing how often, 6 months or a year or more down the line, all of a sudden that person turns around and says, oh yes, and I've now got this opportunity I need to talk to you about. So I'm always very much up for coffee.
Wonderful. Well, when I'm next down in Brighton, we must meet up.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, Steve, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. It has been really great catching up with you, and I can certainly start to relate to a lot of the stuff you've just shared. Brilliant. And I hope also it started to tweak a few little things with our listeners. Thanks so much, Steve.
You're very welcome. It's been a pleasure.
And thank you also to my listeners for joining us today. I'll be back very soon with some more amazing interviews. You can catch up with them all online at www.thehelenwindershow.com. I'll see you all very soon. Bye for now.